Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and let me pull up my Photoshop so you're not looking at my live stream screen. Hey, so welcome. We're gonna draw again today, so it's my favorite time of the week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is our third week doing this, and we've got great response from you guys, and I really enjoy doing this. So we're just gonna keep going, and who knows, you know, each week we'll do something different. Today, I thought it would be kind of fun to create a creature. And I wanted to do a sea creature. I love, you know, I grew up in the ocean, near the ocean. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, you know, I was 14, I was lost in the ocean for 3 days. And I've had all kinds of crazy adventures and seen all kinds of crazy things. And I love painting sea creatures. One of the things I've done is I always pull together reference. Even if I'm creating creatures, I want to be inspired by what's real. And so two things. First, in the environment, I used to live on the beach a couple of years ago, and I used to take photos of the ocean all the time for reference, water reference. And I went through today, and I found this image right here that I thought was interesting. I like the flow, and I was imagining kind of this creature chasing fish out of the water, you know, coming up the other way, coming up over the breakwater there. And I thought that could be kind of a good image. So I pulled it up, exported it, pulled it into Photoshop. And so this will be my reference for the environment right here. And then the other thing too is I really, well, first of all, let me just make sure we're all running it. Are we all running good, Dustin?
Yeah, well, it's working.
Great. We've got my son, Dustin Blaise, once again, working the questions on this end. And then we've got Nick Birch in Sarasota, Florida, my business partner, and he's going to be working on that end. And oh, the other thing too is because we're going to be working in Photoshop today, and I'm going to be trying several of my custom brushes. We thought it would be great to put all of our Photoshop brushes 50% off today. So, and there's no code needed. So if you like some of these brushes that I'm using, then I've got them available. They're already pretty cheap, but they're going to be 50% off over on the website as well. So one of the other things I've done is I want to do kind of this serpentine kind of fish creature coming up out of the water. And one of my favorite deep water fishes is a fish called an oarfish. And this is an oarfish right here. They're very bizarre animals. And they already look like a serpent, but there's certain things about them that I think I'm going to steal and make up my own creature. You know, I'm really, as a lot of people are, I'm really fascinated by deep water fish. You know, like, you know, these types of fish, hatchet fish and angler fish, and you know, they're just these crazy looking monsters. Here's another shot of an oarfish. Look at that beak. That's just a weird looking beak that they have on their face there. But anyway, this kind of stuff I look at, I get inspired by it. I look at details of anatomy and things like that, and then I try to adapt it and push and pull to create my own creatures. So that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm just going to go ahead and start drawing. Whoops, let me come back over here. There we go. I'm going to just go ahead and start drawing. And yeah, I'm just going to draw today. So this might be a long one. This might be 2 or 3 hours. Who knows? But got to drink my coffee. But you know, we'll get in and have some fun. First thing I want to do is I want to look at this environment, and I want to think about my composition. So I want my serpent creature kind of coming up in here. And I always think about, you know, breaking up my composition into thirds, like so. So I want to make sure, I think I'm going to have him come up in here, you know, in this quadrant up here for some interest. And I'm going to have the water and coming down right in here. And I go very, very loose to begin with, because I'm going to push and pull, and once again, even though I have photo reference, it's just there as a suggestion. You know, my reference is always just a suggestion. I am, at least that's the way I treat it. You know, it's there to inspire. It's there to give some information. And then from there, I go off and I do whatever I want with it. So I think I'm gonna move this up a little bit. And I want to get some flow. You notice I don't noodle. I don't get really sketchy. You know, I'm trying to draw from my shoulder and just get nice, confident, solid lines down. Because I want to find the flow in this image. This is all the background stuff. This will be pushed. I'm going to push some atmosphere, I think, ultimately in here, because I don't want this to get too busy and take away from the actual creature when it's coming up out of the water. I'll pull this back. Maybe I'm going to shrink it up a little bit. There we go. So I want more. I want more over here. There we go. So my son's been editing for me, Dustin, and he edits my videos after I shoot them. That way I'm able to go off and create other videos while he's editing, and it just saves us a lot of time and keeps everything really efficient. But man, he's really pointing out all my phrases that I just say over and over and over again. Like, there we go. There we go. Just like so. Just like so. I gotta stop talking. It's the same thing over and over and over again.
You turn it into a drinking game.
Yeah, he says you can turn it into a drinking game, right? So I'm just very lightly just trying to get a sense of the water here. I've actually got water brushes, and so I might cheat a little bit and use my water brushes. But if any of you have ever heard me lecturing about, you know, creating illustrations or getting a freelance work done, there's no such thing as cheating as far as I'm concerned. If it helps you get the job done, then that's fine. In this case, this is a little bit more fine art, so I may choose to just paint. But we'll see. We'll just see how it goes. I like those brushes though. So I've got something kind of rough in here, but now I want to I'll lighten that up back there just a touch. I want to start getting that serpent in. And like I said, I want to feel him coming up, like up in here. And I'm just going to make this up. I was doing some sketching earlier, and I've got a couple of ideas of what I want to do, but let's blow this up. Let's have some fun. There.
What package is your sketch brush in?
My sketch brush, the one I'm using right now, is in my original custom Photoshop brush set. So it's the first. I think Nick will put a link up. He usually does for that set. But it's in my original set, and it's brush number 7. And it's the one that has the painting of the lion's head on the front. I want to do kind of like almost like a snake head. Here we go.
Somebody asked this question, but I don't know the answer to it. Does the brushes that you sell on the site work on other software like Manga Studio 5 or anything like that? Or is it strictly Photoshop?
It's strictly Photoshop. As far as I know, Nick might know better than me, but I'm pretty sure they're strictly Photoshop. We are going to start getting into creating Procreate brushes, but I'm not confident enough in it yet for myself to do it. I'm still learning about, you know, because I want to give you guys good quality, obviously. And so once I have that figured out, then it's kind of fun. Once I have that figured out, then we'll start doing that as well.
How did you get the job at Disney?
My job at Disney I got when I was an intern. I went to Ringling College of Art and Design and trained as an illustrator. And I was looking for a job. It was as simple as that. And Disney was offering an internship. And so let me turn this way. I submitted a portfolio and got in. That was back in 1988. And I was trained at Disney, and the rest is history. I ended up getting the job after that, and then you know, I've been doing it ever since. On this part here, I want to make sure I get this nice serpentine kind of feel. I want to get into that lateral line. You know, all fish have this lateral line, so I'm adding that in there. There we go. I want to have this come back this way.
Would you consider animating your creatures?
Oh yeah, I love doing that kind of stuff, and I've actually done it before. So it's pretty cool.
What are your tips for drawing eyes to ensure they're even?
Oh, well, you just got to look at it and make sure that, you know, one of them is, you know, making sure that their eyes sit on the head in perspective in the right way. So you got to be aware of your perspective. Actually, speaking of perspective, I think I might want to tilt him just a little bit so we're seeing maybe the underside, just like so, just a little bit. So I'm just kind of designing him as I go, but it's really, you know, be aware of your perspective, and you know, don't be afraid to you know, put lines on your construct lines to lay the eyes right on. I'm gonna just, here we go. Let's come back here. This is kind of cool. I'm gonna have his teeth pointing backwards. You know, I'm trying to think of like you know, snakes, anacondas, and a lot of fish. Those teeth point back so that when they grab on the prey can move backwards towards the gut, but they can't move forward. So I'm just gonna, and let's put some just crazy teeth up front. These are kind of fun. And I'm looking at some of those deep sea fish, and the teeth are really kind of uneven and jagged. And
when you were an intern for Disney, did they provide you a place to live, or did you have to find it on your own?
No, they provided me with an apartment. I mean, we had to pay for the apartment, but they set us up with an apartment right there in Burbank, California, and we were there for 6 weeks. This is right at the end of Oliver and Company, when they were creating Oliver and Company, and just getting started on Little Mermaid. So it was a long time ago. There we go. I want to, you know, just like fish do, there's a hinge right here on the jaw. I want to make sure I get that hinge right. There we go.
Do you have any advice for writing? I know this is more drawing, but I also know you've directed a few things.
Yeah, I mean, writing is a whole other animal. And, you know, for me, the biggest piece of advice is don't story structure to me is one of the most important things. Well, there's two. It's story structure, meaning, you know, there's certain paths that a story should go through in order to get from point A to point B, and certain rules you should follow. And a lot of people think, well, you're just following a formula. Well, you're not. These are things that will help you, especially if you're having trouble with a story. If you go down through and look at the proper structure, then 9 times out of 10 you'll find where you're going wrong, where you've missed something somewhere. And then the other thing too in writing is nailing down your thematic. What is that story, the movie about? And I know that sounds like a really simple thing, but you'd be amazed at how many people, when you ask them, what is this about? What is your story about? A lot of people can't answer that. And so it's very, very important to nail down, what is that? What is your story about? So real quick, I just want to talk about this real quick. I want to get in here and kind of create a little gut. But you can see I wanted to get this nice flowing rhythm to this body. This is kind of fun. I think this is going to be kind of neat. Coming out of the ocean. And I was looking at the oarfish, and they've got these cool, actually I'm going to shrink that up even more. They've got these cool kind of tendril things that come out of their heads, and off the bottoms of their chin. And catfish kind of have the same thing. I'm going to do something like this, and I'm thinking if this is a deep sea fish, let's do the same thing in here. If this is a deep sea fish, maybe it's evolved these. It's almost like curb feelers on a Cadillac. It's there to kind of help them feel around down on the bottom because it's so dark. There's no light. So I just thought, and plus it kind of looks neat. So maybe that.
I don't know if you answered this in a past stream, but do you prefer line art or coloring?
You know what? I like both. For me, I love all art. So I love drawing like I'm doing now, but when we start painting this today, you'll find that I love painting too. So it really, I love pen and ink. I love watercolor. I love doing oil. I love drawing digitally. So it really just depends on my mood, I guess. But I don't really prefer one thing over the other, to answer your question.
How often do you draw traditional versus drawing digital?
It's hard to say. I mean, drawing traditionally, if I'm talking on the phone, I'm drawing usually, I'm doodling or something. So I draw. It's probably 50-50. I think 50-50 if I'm, working traditionally and as opposed to digitally. I want to come up with some interesting fin design here. Thinking about like sailfish. Maybe there's something here. I want it all kind of uneven. There we go. Maybe this fin right here, this ray, it's maybe accentuated. Maybe this one is too. And then it goes into a regular fin.
Have you ever drawn any robotic characters or creatures?
When I was a kid, I used to. I've never, not in my professional life, I haven't. The question was, have I drawn any robotic creatures or mechanical? And it's funny, my favorite, when I see people do that, my favorite mechanical creatures or robots are all the ones that are based on real creatures, organic creatures.
Yeah.
And they borrow the locomotion or whatever it might be from them. I just find that really kind of amazing and really cool.
If that's the case, you would love the game that recently released, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes. That's the one that you were showing me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And they base all the machines off them of like real.
I thought the creature design in that was a lot of fun. I'm gonna move him over. See, this is why I keep things on separate layers, because I like where the drawing is right now for the water, but I want to move the fish or the serpent. I want to pull him more over to the right, because what I want to do, and then once again I'm going to do another layer, is I want to make it like I'm just going to indicate these really fast. Just going after a school of fish.
What do you usually draw? People, animals, or other?
You know what? Probably mostly draw animals only because I that's always been my passion. But I draw everything. You know, it doesn't matter. And here we'll have some fish jumping down here. And the fish will give me an opportunity, and I'll pull up some reference later. The fish will give me an opportunity to create some flow, to guide the eye. Here they all are, just jumping out. There, just something really quick. And what I might do is I'm going to pull him, I'm going to take him and the fish. Now once again I'm going to enlarge him. Maybe pull him over to the left just a touch and enlarge him this way. So I want him to be pretty dominant in this image. There we go. It might be okay for part of him to go off screen right. But I want that head to be over in that third quadrant. Remember I was talking about earlier? So I'll spend a lot of time in this stage working out the composition.
Do you have any advice on how to choose a good color palette?
You know, the color palette, it depends on what you want to paint. I mean, that's a really open question. There's as many color palettes as there are artists, and you know, you can paint with a full palette and end up with some beautiful stuff. You can paint with a very limited palette, 3 colors, black, white, and yellow, and you can come up with some really great stuff. It really depends on what you want that final product to be. We're going to be coming out, a good friend of mine, Ronnie Williford, is going to be putting out an entire course on color theory. He's one of the best that I know on color theory, and a lot of that will be explained. But you know, the whole reason we're doing a whole course on it is because that's a huge question. You know, it really does depend on what it is you're trying to create, and the mood you're trying to get across, all of that. So, yeah, so that's that.
Does your son have artistic talent?
Yeah, you do. You have some, you know. If you choose to, it's like anything else. If you choose to nurture it and work at it, then yeah, it'll get better. I mean, I always liked to draw ever since I was, you know, even when I was a little kid. I didn't, you know, I really have a hard time with the term artistic talent, because yeah, there might be some kids that really like to draw when they're young. But basically, if you look at all kids when they were really young, they all basically draw the same. It's the ones that stick to it that get better and better at it, and then all of a sudden they become talented. No, they just did it a lot. It's, you know, if people that play basketball or football, yeah, there might be some guys that, well, actually, I do, you know, there are guys that are physically able to do better, but you know, that's just the beginning. The, you know, practice and hard work, that's where it all really kicks in. So I'm coming up with something here that I'm kind of liking. I'm starting to noodle it a little bit. So, but I kind of like all of this. This is kind of fun.
Oh, this is interesting. Can I ask you to throw a curveball at your dad? Maybe he could illustrate this sea creature scene in nighttime setting with the bioluminescence and moonlight, maybe?
No. You know, that would be, it would be very cool, but I would need to really research that. I can't just pop that out of my head. I'll be the first one to admit it. But I do like that idea. But I actually want this. I want this to be this sunlit scene where he's coming up out of the water and hitting the sunlight. But actually, maybe I could do that in the future. I'll get in there and I'll research it ahead of time. And I really love bioluminescence. When I was a kid, you know, growing up in the Gulf Coast in the summertime, let me get this in here. Around August, the bioluminescence in the water would be so strong, And one of my favorite things to do is to dive in at night, go into the ocean and dive in at night and swim underwater with my eyes open. And all the little organisms hitting my eyes would fire off, and so I did these big sparkles happening right on the surface of my eyeball. And I just thought that was the trippiest, coolest thing, and I would just swim and swim and swim underwater. I just loved it. There we go. Actually, I just want to try something real quick. I want to see what he'd look like if I really pulled that down. That's kind of
2D hand-drawn animation nowadays.
2D hand-drawn animation nowadays? I'm not sure in what context.
Like, I think it just means like just all the hand-drawn stuff of today compared to.
Well, that's like, there's a lot of great stuff that's out there. It's that's like asking what do you like? What kind of what do you think of music today? There's tons of different kinds of music. If you're asking me if I think the 2D side of things is dead and it's going away, I don't think it's dead. Matter of fact, I think it's kind of hibernating. And what I think is kind of cool is I think it's waiting for the right people to come along and revive it and get something going again, come up with a great project. And I think we'll be really blessed to see a really cool project, from somebody. There's somebody young out there or older, whatever, that I'm sure has got some great ideas. Yeah, I kind of like this. I like how this kind of came in. I want the kind of the wrinkles and the skin to come in like so. That feels kind of good. And I like having these eyes way up front.
What do you think what makes a painting good or bad?
Well, once again, that's a wide open question. There's any number of things that can make a painting good or bad. It really depends on, what the artist intended, and there's just as many things that can make a painting bad as there, is to make it good. And it's, obviously the things that make it good, good composition, good whatever. I mean, is it a realistic painting? Is it abstract? Is it, there's all kinds of questions to be asked. The easiest thing about what makes a painting good or bad is if you like it. I know it sounds really simple, but, without getting into all the details of proper composition and this and that and whatever. If you look at a painting, if you go into a museum or you go into an art show or you go into a gallery or whatever and you see a painting and you like it, then it's a good painting. Doesn't matter. Someone else might not like it, but I'm a firm believer that art is in the eye of the beholder. And, if a lot of people didn't like Bob Ross. I love Bob Ross. And I love what he did to, bringing art to the masses. And sure, his paintings were, they were what they were, but a lot of people loved him and a lot of people emulated him. and I would still consider him an artist. So it just depends on the viewer. I really do think it depends on the viewer. And as an artist, are you an artist out to make a living? Then that's one. You have to be one kind of artist. Or are you an artist that just likes to paint on the weekends and get out of your system? Then that's another kind of painting and art. So it just depends on the artist and the viewer. There, I think I got something here I'm liking.
Did you design your tattoos yourself?
My tattoos? I've only got one tattoo. And yes, I did design it myself. It's a very personal tattoo. I'll tell you the story, actually. So my wife and I were married for 20 years, and she was my soulmate, the love of my life. And she, actually, on Saturday, it will be 10 years ago. In 2007, she passed away from breast cancer. And so I designed her favorite art. One of her favorite artists was Alphonse Mucha, who was a Art Nouveau artist in the 20s, in the teens. French artist. And so I designed her portrait in the style of that artist. And then there's a tattoo artist by the name of Zulu. At the time he was based in LA. Now he's based in Austin, Texas. And he was a great guy, is a great guy. And he did the tattoo for me. And one of the things he also did was he mixed some of the ashes from my wife, mixed her ashes in with the ink. And so now she's right here. She's inside me. And she's part of me forever. And so it's yes, I designed that tattoo, and it's I'm very happy I did it. It was a very, very spiritual, very beautiful process that we went through when we did it. And I can't recommend it enough. If you get a tattoo, make it mean something. So
I love the coincidence that Zulu and I had with our tattoo.
yes, yeah, my son and Zulu both have dragonflies tattooed on the same shoulder blade on their backs.
Same angle too, same everything.
Yeah, so
just different design.
Pretty cool. All right, I'm noodling this. I'm talking and noodling. I'm kind of digging this creature. I think it's going to be kind of it can be kind of cool. And let's start throwing in some color.
Speaking of which, how do you decide a color palette?
Well, I'm gonna go kind of cool and with some warm accents on this one, but I want it to be realistic. I want it to be a very real feel. I'm still not crazy about the composition. It just feels kind of bleh, right in the middle. I'm gonna try enlarging everything.
Where's the tattoo? Somebody's asking.
Right here, right there. So there she is. Let's see. Go ahead and make them real big. So yeah, I kind of like it going bigger, and I'm just pumping everything up, and I'm just going to let those tendrils on the top of his head. I'm just going to let those fly right off the top of the frame.
You should have like a really tiny little pirate ship right underneath it. If you want big, there you go.
So there, I think I'm going to go with that composition. I like that. That feels nice and full, and I think ultimately we can get some more fish coming down here.
Could you tell us 3 artists who influenced you?
3 artists that influenced me. There are several wildlife artists. Growing up, Robert Bateman was one, Guy Koliak was another, John Siri Lester was another. Those guys, the way they painted nature and animals, I just feel like they're some amazing. I've got hundreds of influences, by the way. So growing up, those are the guys that first exposed me to it, and then since then, Joaquin Sorolla and Bruno Liliafours, European artists. But one of my biggest influences, and this is the guy that really lit the fire in me, was Glenn Keane. I talk about him a lot, but Glenn Keane was an animator, is an animator, one of the best in the world, and he designed the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, and Ariel from Little Mermaid, and lots of other characters, and Tarzan. And but he taught me animation, and he really inspired me, and he's always been a really big inspiration artistically and just as a person too. He's a really great guy, and so he was a huge influence on me. All right, so let me go radio silent here for a little bit, just while I lay in some color. I want to see. I'm going to go a little greener, turquoise-ish. Yeah, let's get something kind of mid-tone. I'm going into I'm going to go into the water first. I've created a layer underneath everything, and I'm just going to start. I'm going to go darker than that. Just a touch, maybe a little more pure. Yeah, I'm going to come in here, and you'll see I'm just going to really loosely start laying stuff in. You know, when I paint, I go from the broad to the minute, to the minutia. So, I go rough to detail. In color, I go from flat to, I go back and forth to shadow, highlight, getting those details further and further along. So right now, I just really want to lay in some local color. Local color meaning, what color is it without the sunlight and without the shadow? Oops, there we go. There we go, good. Get rid of that. I think I want to go a bit bluer now as we see the water getting further out. As the water gets deeper, it's going to go bluer. There we go. And we'll go a little bluer still and a little darker still. Once again, I'm just really roughing it in. I might throw a little bit of blue in here. Here. You see, I'm trying to keep the same value. Value meaning light and dark. I want to keep the same value. I'm going to go a little bluer in here because this will be deeper. And I want the water to feel, in the waves where it gets a little thinner and there's light coming through it, I want it to feel a little translucent. Translucent. There we go. There. There we go. So and then I'm going to pull a little bit of my green color just to balance things out. I'll lightly, I don't know how sensitive this is coming out on your end as far as if it's projecting, if it's broadcasting all the subtle nuances that I'm trying to get in the color. But okay, there's that. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the foam color. Now this is the shadow foam. This is the color of the shadow area. It's going to be a little darker. And actually I'm going to make it a little bluer.
What is the brush you're currently using to block in the color?
This is a brush that a friend of mine gave me. It's not one that I actually offer. But I'm going to be making one very similar to it because everybody asks me about this brush. It's a really cool brush. And but I just can't, in good conscience, go and sell it from, after my friend had given it to me. But it's kind of this pastel-y looking brush. Yes, what's so funny?
So it says, can you do this in a Bob Ross tone and add in some happy little waves?
All right, so I'm just gonna add some happy little waves right here. There's no accidents. There's just you're gonna get really, oh, that's a happy little soft spot right there. There we go. I can't do that for very long, man.
I don't know how he did it.
He was a happy guy. I love Bob Ross. He's my hero. I want to be the new Bob Ross. I'm gonna bring art to the masses. We're putting beauty back in the world.
Or for it was like last year for his birthday, they did a stream on Twitch of all of his episodes.
Yeah.
And there was like over like 10 to 20,000 viewers watching it.
That's fantastic.
Like so many people.
He was a good guy. I'm going to look at this hatchetfish. I'm sorry, not hatchetfish, oarfish. There's something about the color on a regular oarfish that I like. And I want to go, since this is so green and blue, I want to go a little complementary. So I'm going to go into the orange red range, but really kind of silvery. So I'm going to go kind of light. I'm just going to rough in his color. There we go. Just like so. Stop saying that. There we go.
Any tips for drawing realistic fur?
Yes, I do have tips for drawing realistic fur. The first thing you don't do is don't do this. Don't do that. Don't draw. Start out, just like basically start out doing what I was just talking about. Find the big shapes for fur. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different fur to be painted. You know, there's short fur, there's bushy fur, there's long fur, there's obviously all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to go a little darker in there. It's real, oops, sorry. It's, you know, look at the type of fur that you need to get down, but then go for the shapes, go for the big shapes. And then I always talk about finding the light and shadow. You know, clumps of fur create peaks and valleys, and when you start defining that, then you'll find that you don't really need to go in and define a whole lot. You might find some select areas, places where you want the eye to look, where you might add a little bit more detail, but other places you really don't need to do it. Don't get into painting every single hair. That's the biggest key. Find the peaks and the valleys, find the clumps of fur and define those first. And that'll help you. So I'm just kind of quickly laying in. This won't be the final color. I'm gonna have some fun with this and add some different color. Like right now, what I'm gonna do, I'll show you. I want to show some variances in color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this layer. You see where I locked it over there? And that allows me to only paint where I've already painted. So now I'm going to go, kind of like, I know I said I was going to change the blue, go more orange, but I think I'm going to play some nice silvery blue underneath here.
So we just gotta get Aaron a swear jar for every time he says like so.
I know. Sorry. It's kind of funny though. So this is kind of fun. I like this. I like the color change happening here. Now I'm going to go a little, once again, looking at the.
You always paint on a gray background?
I do. That's a good question. I always paint on a gray background because when I start with white, white to me is way too stark. And for me, it's really hard to judge my values properly. Values meaning light and dark when I'm looking at them against a white background. Because white is your brightest bright. And so anything that you lay on top of it is going to look dark. So your mid-tones will look darker, even your light tones will look too dark. So for me, working on a gray background allows me to judge my values better. There we go. We're getting there, laying in some local color. There we go. I want to get some more color here. Let's go a little pinker. I like that hatchet fish. Once again, I'm talking about that hatchet fish. Not hatchet fish, or fish. There we go.
Do you plan what to draw before sketching?
Yes and no. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This one I just, I kind of knew the composition of what I wanted, but I didn't know what the creature was going to be. We just kind of made it up. You guys watched me make it up. Other times I'll have a really good sense in my head of what it is that I want to do, and I'll go ahead and do it. And okay, there we go. I want to get a little stronger color coming down the side of the fish right there. But really it's, and sometimes I have no idea what I'm going to draw. I feel like drawing and I know I want to get it out of my system, but I have no clue what I'm going to do. And so I just sit there and just start drawing. just literally just start randomly drawing whatever pops into my head, and 9 times out of 10 I'll come up with something. So I'm just gonna just define this just a little bit more, just trying to vary up the color here a little bit. This is all kind of local color.
How do you apply reflected light? I'm not quite sure on the rules, as there normally is no one reflected light source.
Exactly. So first of all, there are rules. Reflected light is just that. It's reflected light. So you have to really, you have to look at the environment that you're creating to see where light is being reflected. So like for instance, with this guy here, there might be, because the sun is going to be, the sunlight I think is going to be off to the right, maybe back behind him a little bit. There might be some bounced light coming off of this the water here and bouncing up and lighting him underneath. In the case of a character, being outdoors, there might be, if someone's standing on a light sidewalk, you'll get some bounced light coming off the sidewalk and lighting up their chin. You might have some warm light there. But if they're standing on blacktop, you won't have any bounced light. So it really depends on, it just depends on the environment. I'm going to go dark.
Do you have any advice for wrist issues, like
carpal tunnel?
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
You know what? I don't. It's not something that I've had to deal with, and so I haven't had any problems with it yet. I would recommend exercising as much as you can, and and stop every once in a while, and flex and move around and that sort of thing. But I don't have a lot of advice on it, only because I haven't had to deal with it. But I do try to get out and exercise and get away from the board every once in a while. I'm not sure if I like the red lips. I'm not sure I like that. I'm going to go back.
Will you paint on the fish scales, or would you use textures?
You know what? In this case, I'll probably paint them on, because I want it to be. I don't want it to be super even. But I've done it where I've laid them on in textures as well, and it works just as fine. It's photo bashing for me, where I'm laying on textures and that sort of thing. I think that's kind of fun. It just really depends on the image that you're trying to create. Actually, I want to hit these gills nice and rich red. Some of these gills poking out. There we go. So there's something I think we can start working with. And let's go ahead. I want to go ahead and go a little dark, actually pretty blue, and a little, I'm going to go dark. I'm going to see what these, there we go full opacity. Just see what these fins will look like. Actually, I'm going to change the brush out. Go back to my sketching brush. So we're about 50, oh, I got it locked. Unlock it, there we go. We're about 50 minutes into it. And, with less than an hour, and we've got our composition in, and normally I'd probably be at this point right now, probably about 10 or 15 minutes earlier, only because I'm yakking so much. I think I like the dark fins playing against the light body. Maybe I'll use some of this color just to balance it. I'll pull some color up in here as markings. There we go.
Do you ever flip the paper sideways or a different angle on Photoshop, or is that even possible?
I do that all the time. That's a great question. And normally I actually talk about that. Oh, I like this dark. This is kind of cool. I like that. I like that feeling. I'll show you. So a lot of times I'll just flop my images like so, just to get a sense of, just to see it from a different angle, to make sure the composition is right, and see where I might want to change things up. So far, I think this is coming out. I'm going to add some down in the lower part of the image, down in the water. I'm going to add enough detail and darks and lights and everything that it's going to add a lot more interest down there, so it doesn't feel so lopsided. But here we go. Just gonna get these fins laid in here really quick. And I'm always conscious about my background. I want, I don't want my character, especially where my I want the main focus. You can hear the sirens going by. I want to make sure that I get enough contrast from the background so it draws the eye. So like right in here, I want to make sure that, ultimately we have enough happening over there that the eye, jumps to that part, because that's where I want the main part of the interest in the image. There we go.
How would you draw a forest and bushes and such? I take a look at a tree or a forest picture, and I don't know where to start.
Yeah, that's a good question. I recommend drawing forests and trees and plants and all that kind of stuff in the same way that I was explaining doing fur. Don't look at the detail. Stop. Don't look at the detail first. Go with the broad. Draw in the shapes. Paint in the shapes. And then slowly work towards the detail. Find the light and shadow. But don't get overwhelmed with all the detail all at once, because you'll just get overwhelmed. So it's important that you start with the broad, go rough, and then work towards the detail. Always. I'm just going to add, I like these markings. I'm going to go ahead and continue with these. I'm going to throw these on the fishy fish right there. Maybe something a little more. There, that's kind of fun. There we go. And let's add just one last little bit, really pure orange. In that eye. That kind of feels neat. Neato. So we got local color in. Now I want to go in and start. Let's save it. Let's save it just in case. Sea serpent. Serpent? Yeah, we'll just do that. Whoops. And let's save it on desktop. Now, I'm just going to do a quick experiment. And I'm going to go put a layer. I'm going to put a layer on top. And I'm going to jump to my water brushes. I know I've got tons of brushes over here, but these are all my water brushes that I created. They're some of my favorite brushes. They work really, really well. And I'm gonna try. I need to go pretty dark. Just gonna lightly lay in a little bit here and just see if they're hitting see if it hits the way I need it to. Yeah, these aren't. This isn't quite the right brush. So I'm going to get rid of that. And like I said, I think I might want to just paint them in myself. Let's see here. I can use this to add a little bit of texture in the background. I'm going to throw this actually on here. This will be like a nice base texture that I'm throwing in. Yeah, not liking that. There, keep that in there. Let me jump up here and try one of my other ones. This will, like I said, this will just be a base. There we go. I'll jump in here.
How do you decide what colors and tones to use?
I think about, there we go. I think about color relationships. Yeah, that's going to be a good base. I think about color relationships and warm. I think warm and cool. And I'm going to just jump back to my regular sketching brush now. I think in those terms. I think in terms of warm and cool, and value. And I want to make sure that I'm keeping everything kind of in the same ballpark. I think about the temperature of my light source. Is it warm light? Is it cold light? That sort of thing. So there's a lot of different factors that I think about. So I'm just going to come in here really quick. And I'm going to be very, very loose.
Do you have any favorite dinosaur?
Favorite dinosaurs? I don't. I love dinosaurs. And I used to be really into it when I was a kid. I don't know them as well anymore.
My personal favorite has always been the Stegosaurus.
Oh yeah.
Because of the plates on his back and with the spikes on his tail.
Yeah.
I always thought it was such a cool, unique look.
Yeah. So what I'm doing now is I'm establishing some of the dark textures and thinking about what's happening with the water. And notice I'm doing them on a separate level too, separate layer, some of these textures, all these textures. Let's do this, there we go.
Do you ever draw dinosaurs?
Oh, sure, every once in a while. For fun. It's funny you mentioned that. I was actually sketching a T-Rex the other day. Just for fun.
Have you done a lot of illustrations of dinosaurs?
All right. Okay. Enough of the dinosaur questions.
You just started popping them up and right. Is the monoprice 22 HD a good alternative to Cintiq?
Say that again.
The monoprice 22 HD. Is that
The 22 HD is great, if that's what you're asking. I think it's great. So I'm just laying in some of the textures that I want in here. Still basically staying loose. I'm using that photo. I'm using this photo as my reference right here. So I'm looking at these dark and light shapes. Right now I'm just laying in the dark shapes. Obviously I'm not laboring over exactly every shape that's there. I'm just trying to capture the spirit of it. So I just go in here and I'm staying loose. And I know in here ultimately I'm going to want to show that's really translucent. There we go. So once again, in case you guys have come in later, all of my Photoshop brushes on my website, creatureartteacher.com. That's my website. All of my Photoshop brushes are 50% off today for you guys watching as we paint in Photoshop. So you can see I don't need to go super detailed in the background in order to get a nice sense of water back there. So I'm just gonna lightly hit a couple of areas back here.
How do you go about fitting characters and creatures in a scene?
How do I go about fitting characters and creatures in a scene?
Yeah, like how do you I think it's like the placement of.
I'm thinking it depends on the composition. So it depends on the story that I want to get across, the mood. I had this idea of this serpent right here coming up out of the water and jumping over this, chasing fish. And so as far as placement goes, I know that I want it to be high in the composition to get a sense of it, get that sense of it arcing up and getting high up out of the water. If I had chosen to look down on it and it's jumping up, it wouldn't have given me as good a sense of that action because I'm not getting any kind of arcing feel to it. So you want to think about your staging. That's a big thing. Staging is how do you stage a scene in order to get across the best idea, and that's a big part of storyboarding and animation, acting, any of that kind of stuff. But painting as well. You want to stage something as strongly as possible to get across whatever the drama or emotion or whatever it is that's happening in that scene that you're creating. Make sure it's staged well so that everything else, the viewer gets a sense of what it is that you're trying to get across. There we go.
What's the most exotic animal you've drawn?
Most exotic animal I've ever drawn, I don't know. I mean, I've drawn a lot of. It depends on what you consider exotic. I've drawn, I've tracked in Nepal. Or, we used to go out. I went out when I was in Nepal a few years ago. We stayed at a place called Tiger Tops, which is a camp in there's a Chitwan National Park in Nepal, and we'd go out on elephant back every morning, and we would track rhinos and tigers and all kinds of stuff. And that was a pretty exotic experience. And I came back and painted Indian rhinos and whatnot. Here we go. This guy's standing out to me. I'm not liking it.
What screen recording software would you recommend?
I use ScreenFlow. That's what I use to record all of my when I do my videos, and when you see my videos cut to the screen, that's all done with ScreenFlow. I really recommend it. And they're getting better and better, with every update that they do, and I think they've always been good. But I think that's working pretty well, just for what it is. I'm going to come in, I'm going to go back to my base color, and I'm going to touch that, and I want to go a little lighter, a little foamier. I want to vary up some of that color a little bit more.
What is your favorite non-digital painting medium and why?
My favorite non-digital painting medium, that's a good question. Probably watercolor, because I started painting watercolor when I was about 8 years old, and so I have the most experience with it, and for me it just feels very, very natural. I love watercolor. And then the other ones I like for different reasons. I really like oil, just for the richness and the chunkiness and all the different things you can do with it. And I like acrylic because of how forgiving it is. I can get in there and I can paint dark and light. And watercolor, you have to be very careful in how you handle it as far as painting your values. And so it's different mediums I like for different reasons. I'm just trying to get some texture back here with the light. There we go. But watercolor is my favorite. And I like painting really detailed with it, and I like painting really loose with it, and I like doing it with ink, painting it with ink, all kinds of stuff. So I'm just going to paint a little bit more texture in there. So now that I've established some of these dark areas, I want to go in and, those dark areas are reflecting that you're looking into the water. And then where it goes light on top, that's reflecting sky, right? So I'm going to go in there. There we go. I want to go in there and I'm going to paint on top. I'm going to go really light, and I'm going to go blue-ish. Just stay in the green range.
John Lasseter?
Yes, John Lasseter was my boss for a long time, for 6 years. I've worked very closely with John Lasseter, and I think he's a genius. He's great. He's a great boss. And I don't have anything negative to say. I just think I think he's a story genius, and he's really great at what he does. So I'm coming in here now. I want to, you notice I'm getting detaily now. I'm going to hit some of this water.
Why did you insert that water layer just above the main background layer?
Oh, because I still wanted the drawing to sit on top, and I wanted it to sit behind the fish layer. But now I'm painting everything on top. I'm trying to paint over the pencil lines now, the drawing lines. So now you're going to see that's pretty much what I'm trying to do now, is paint on top of the drawing layer.
What's your favorite watercolor brand?
Winsor Newton.
What?
Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton is my favorite watercolor brand. All right. Just gonna let some of these reflections come through, and I'll jump back and forth. At this point, I'll start jumping back and forth to get a sense of, there we go, balance. I'm gonna go I'm gonna go a little bluer, a little bit darker. I'll vary it up.
Oh, that question earlier about the 22 HD, the model price. Wasn't sure they understood the questions. Its opinions on less costly alternatives to Wacom Cintiq.
Oh, you know, I'm the bad one to ask, because I work with Cintiqs exclusively, and I've never really shopped around beyond that. So I'm sorry, but I don't really have an answer for that. If anybody out there that's watching has some answers for that, then please jump in and be my guest.
Are you a fan of Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli?
Yes, I've been there. I've been to his studio. I've sat with him, and
Lucky.
Yeah, it was great. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of him. All right, I'm going to go ahead and add. I want to get down into the warm light and get bright right in there. Yeah, I want to hit some of this.
Any thoughts about streaming on Twitch's artistic channel?
Yeah, we've talked about it, and I know my son wants me to do it. So we'll probably end up doing that at some point. So notice I'm still staying fairly loose, but I'm trying to add a little bit more light sense. Getting light in here. And notice when I went in here, I didn't go all the way to the white. I still want some color. So I'm being very careful to keep, even though I got the value really, really bright, I want to make sure that I still have color in this light foam. I'm going to end up adding some texture later. Right here. Still staying loose.
What are your opinions on the new Beauty and the Beast?
I don't know. I don't have an opinion yet. I'm holding my opinion till I see it. I'm really, to be honest with you, I'm actually really excited to see it. I worked on the original, and I'll come down in there. There we go. I worked on the original, and actually I want to come down in there. There we go. And so for me to see this being done, I think is really exciting, and I think it can be really. I think it's going to be really cool. I have a lot of faith in Don Hahn and Disney not to mess it up, And Don Hahn being the producer, he produced both. I think he's on producing the remake. But there we go. That's feeling good.
Did you ever doubt on your own skills?
Of course, we're artists. We're self-conscious. You know, we always doubt ourselves. To this day, I doubt myself. You know, and I get nervous every time I sit down and do a live stream with you guys. You know, I think, okay, is today the day that they find out that it's all a sham? You know, is today the day that they find out that I really can't draw? You know, we all get nervous about our abilities and but you just got to roll with it, and you work through it, and there we go. That feels a little better. So that's all I have to say about that. There we go.
Will you stream any watercolor or oil painting?
Yes. So yeah, I mentioned when I did the Facebook Live the other day. We are actively working on getting that set up. It's just right now it's much easier for me to do digital work for you guys and for you to watch doing this because it's all hooked up. We haven't figured out anything a good system yet for you know, my traditional stuff. We got to get the camera set up and all that. So here we are. What are we? We're an hour and 12 minutes into it, and we're getting there. I think I'm going to jump over. I'm getting some stuff that I like here, and I'm going to go a little bit looser with it. And I'm going to keep this whole thing fairly loose, I think.
You share any hijinks or funny stories from working as an intern in Cali?
Well, I didn't have a lot of funny stories as an intern. We had a lot of funny stories. I mean, we were constantly cracking jokes on each other, and you know, lots of rubber band fights, and you know, all kinds of fun stuff that we would do to each other. It was a great place to work. Work. Was. It will always be very, very dear to me. I loved working at Disney. And, you know, I love what I'm doing now, but the thing that I loved about working at Disney were the people. I really miss them. They were wonderful people, and my best, you know, the best friends I ever made in my life, I made at Disney. You know, with the exception of one or two as a kid that I'm still friends with, but, you know, my friends that I made at Disney, you know, we made big blockbuster movies together, and we grew up together. We all started when we were in our 20s, and you know, we went to each other's weddings, and we all had kids all at the same time. It was just an amazing way to kind of grow up. You know, my son Dustin, who's taking questions right now, when we found out my wife was pregnant for Dustin, we were having a big company softball game, and I went out onto the field and I announced it to the entire studio that we were going to have another baby, and everybody cheered, and you know, that's how it was. It was an amazing place to be. Some of these areas are feeling way too dark.
What kind of a computer do you recommend for digital art?
Well, I'm a Mac guy. So, you know, it really depends. I love my Mac. So I know my son feels differently. So I think it's just whatever's powerful enough. You know, I'll never go. I'll always be a Mac guy. So I love that. And we've got right now. I'm just using an old G5 tower, and but I've also got a Mac Pro that we do our editing on, and I've got a laptop that works really well as well. So just really depends on what can do the job for you. So here you can see I'm trying to hit these highlights. I'm hitting different hues of blue and kind of turquoise. But let's jump up to our fish. I know I keep saying that, so I'm going to stop yakking and do it. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to think about that light being kind of over to the right behind our character here. And like I've done before, I'm going to create a layer on top, set it to multiply. I'm going to do some cool shadows. I'm going to go cool gray. And in here, I'm going to paint in, how big is that? That's a little bit big. There we go. I'm going to paint in the shadows. If the light is off to the right, then this belly right here is going to be in shadow. And I'm just going to lightly, very loosely, kind of think about the texture of that belly. Maybe this kind of cuts in a little bit. Thinking about all of this being shadow. Maybe a little shadow there. Maybe we get a little shadow there. There we go. Oh, I said it again. There we go. There.
Did you try to inject certain character mannerisms into your animated characters?
Say that again.
Like back in Disney, did you try to inject certain actors' mannerisms, like any like movements, into your animated character?
I never did. There were some people, obviously when you look at the genie and Robin Williams, you've got to. Eric Goldberg, who is the supervising animator of the genie, he was a genius at doing that. Actually, I'm going to create a shadow coming off of here. But none of my characters, I think I tried a little bit with George Takei. George Takei did the voice of the main ancestor ghost. And yeah, that shadow works really well. The main ancestor ghost in Mulan. And I animated him. I was in charge of that character. And I tried to get a little bit of his regalness and the way he talked. George Takei. He was great. I went to the recording sessions and he was a lot of fun. But yeah, I think it really depends on the actor themselves. If the actor really brings something really special to it, like Robin Williams did with the genie, then yes, definitely you want to get that as much of that actor in there as you can. Otherwise, I think you're wasting it. There, see, just that quick shadow layer that I just added. Look how it really starts to bring it all together. It starts to make it feel like it's sitting in that world. This is kind of fun.
Are you currently working on a Disney project? IMDb says so.
No, IMDb is lying to you.
Lie.
Lie. No, it's I don't know why it says that. I have no clue, actually. I am not working on a Disney project. I am not.
Maybe it's your clone that's working on it.
Yeah, it could be my clone. Yeah. There we go. There. So we're getting some kind of fun there. Now I'm going to put another layer on top. And I'm going to go overlay. And I want to go warm. Not too bright. Notice I'm not going super bright. And I'm going to come in here and paint some light. Painting the light. Painting the light. And once again, still I'm keeping it fairly loose. I'm going to go in a little bit and we'll paint detail. But I just like to keep it loose at this stage. I'm establishing value, color. There we go. See how we're getting a nice sense of light now. I want to make sure I get it here, like the light's hitting those gills. And we're getting a nice, kind of 3D effect on here. There we go. You got any more questions? Come on, people. Come on, people. There we go. That's coming along.
Do you have a favorite pencil brand for animation?
You know, that's an interesting question. I love animating with Prismacolor. I just like the feel of it. You can't erase with it, but I don't erase that much. I just draw over my mistakes. So I really love the feel of Prismacolor. A black Prismacolor pencil. There we go. We're getting something there. A little something, something. I'm digging this. This is kind of fun. I'm glad we did this today. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start drawing over the top of the line work. And, you know, I never did a tied down version of this, so the line work is going to be really strong on here. But let's go ahead. I'm going to go a little grayer, a little cooler. There we go. With the teeth. I'm going to get in there with the tooths. The toothlesses.
Would you like to come back to work at Disney?
You know, I would love to be with the studio. I would love to make a movie again. And I would love to be at a studio again. I think it would, for me to work at Disney again, you know, it's not the same place. I'm not the same person. I don't have the same aspirations that I used to have. I would love to direct again, but that's not something that will happen at Disney. And for me, I would love to work with a group of people again. That's one thing I do miss, working alone. But I love the freedom that I have working alone, doing what I'm doing now. I've never had more creative freedom than I have now. That being said, I really did I loved working with other people. And yeah, so who knows? You know, if I've got, you know, if the right project came along and they wanted me to work on it in some capacity, whether it's Disney or whoever, yeah, I would definitely consider doing something like that. But, you know, for me, I love living in my little town where I live here in DeLand, Florida, and, you know, living in my 100-year-old house, and just sitting here drawing and painting. I got to tell you, there's something to be said for that, and it would take a lot to drag me away from it. There we go.
Have you painted in VR yet, or seen the video of Glenn Keane doing it?
I've seen the video of Glenn Keane doing it, and I have not, and I just think that is the coolest thing. I think it's really cool. There we go. That feels kind of neat. I like the red. You're laughing at something, Dustin? Someone say something funny?
Oh, this is an interesting, very unique question. If you were a candy bar, what candy bar would you be?
What? If I was a candy bar,
what candy bar would you be?
Man, someone's smoking something. I would be, oh man, a whatchamacallit. I'd be a whatchamacallit. There we go. So I'm hitting some little highlights. I want to get the texture in here on this guy.
How often do you use Photoshop filters and effects in your work?
Very little. I'll use the focus. I'll rack stuff out of focus. I like the tilt shift. I use that a fair amount. But I really don't use filters that much. There we go. Here I just want to get, I'm just adding in detail now. And one thing, I'm going to throw a layer on top because I don't know how this is going to come out. I'm going to go really warm with this and really super bright. I want to hit like wet highlights. Wet highlights like so. Yeah, what's so funny?
You never work alone. CIA is watching.
Yeah, I know. They are.
How do you decide when to switch brushes, and is the thinking different when painting traditionally or digitally?
You know, obviously you're a slave to whatever the medium dictates. So, but what's interesting about the way I paint digitally is it's very similar to the way I paint, let's say, in acrylic, and so I build things up in the same way. That feels nice and wet. But yeah, I mean, there's a certain process, there's a certain method that I go through. I'm losing the question. What was the question? Oh, do you remember? Or did it slide away already?
How do you decide when to switch brushes?
Oh, switch brushes. Yeah, you know, it's just I know I only use about 4 different brushes when I'm doing something like this, unless it's something really specialized. And so it's, you know, this is my detail brush, and then I have one that I use to lay in big areas. So it's, you know, it's not. I think I'm gonna hit some reflected light. It's not a big challenge to know when to do it.
What was the biggest challenge you had with the animation of a character?
The biggest challenge, obviously, is to bring that character to life. You know, animation is hard. It's just hard. And you know, it's our job as an animator not to move things around, because anybody can move things around. It's our job to bring them to life. And so if you're doing your job right, you sit down with the story artists, you sit down with the directors, you want to understand your character inside and out. And before you ever start animating, you start understanding who that character is from a story standpoint. And there we go. And then from there, once you understand who that character is, then you can start applying that to your animation. That's really going to dictate how they emote, how they move, you know, all that kind of stuff. I'm hitting little details now in here. I think I want to go under. I don't want to have to draw. There we go. I'm just going to go under there, actually. Go a little brighter. I don't want cool.
Or would you like to work on a VR project, interactive film?
It depends on the project. I'm super interested in VR, first of all. So I think VR is. I can't wait to see what it's going to be in 20 years. And yes, I'm super interested in working on something like that if it was the right project. I don't want to do it just because it's VR. There we go. I'm just hitting a couple of highlights here and there. I'm going to go in, and even within shadow areas, you're going to get variations in value. Whoops, that might be a little too light. Pull that back. But I'm just going in and I'm drawing over the line work right now and just adding variations in the values.
Do you get recognized in public?
No, not really. You know, the little world that I take up in animation and art is not very big.
No, well, they are popular at the conventions.
Well, that's a convention. So yeah, people recognize me when I go to a convention for animation and art and stuff, but no, not on the street. There we go. There we go. Just want to hit my little detail-y areas. Actually, I think I'm going to go a little red there, go back up to my, want to hit these too. There. So you can see We got something that's kind of coming together. We're getting a nice sense of light on there. I think I'm going to come up here and go even brighter. This is kind of fun. I'm enjoying this one. You know, what's fun about doing stuff like this, a lot of times for me, is I don't know what I'm going to end up with. So I just kind of sit. That's a little too bright. I just sit down and start drawing, and it's almost like a Frankenstein feeling. You're creating something that's never been seen before, and it's kind of fun to do that. There we go. I'll throw a little bit of texture, a little bit of water up in the air or something. Maybe we're catching a little bit of light right along here. Maybe along here. Maybe in here. I don't know. See what that looks like. Just adding detail. Not going super. Yeah, that's all right. That feels kind of nice. See, this is all reflected light from the light up above. Now let's go in here and hit. I'm going to go warm with it. Super bright. Super bright. And hit some of these teeth.
We do a video where you go. I just lost the.
Did you lose the question, my friend? My friend?
Shite. Fudge.
Well, whoever just. Well, I don't know who. You won't. They won't know who.
Well, oh, that was a new question. What was your job on Rescuers Down Under?
I was my first Rescuers Down Under. What was my job on Rescuers Down Under? I was an animator. It's the first feature that I ever animated on. Let's see here. And I animated all the mice in the background at the Rescue Society or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was called. And the I got to go really dark here. So I animated a lot of clapping mice, and then I animated a lot of the background prison animals. So they were all very small roles, but it was, you know, it was a way for me to kind of cut my teeth on. There we go. On you know, animating my first characters for a feature. So it was kind of cool. It was fun.
When do you decide to finish a drawing and not get the temptation to keep trying to fix or add details to it?
You know, it's just an intuitive thing. When I feel like it's done, then I'll walk away from it. But that being said, very often I'll come back the next morning. Let's say I leave it up on my computer, or I'll leave it on the easel, and I'll walk back and go, nope. You know, I'll see something different and change it up, add something to it. You know. There we go. Let's come in here. I want to go a little. There's going to be some brighter areas, and no, we're going to go even brighter. There's going to be some nice kind of brighter areas in the gills, catching light. Not catching light, but catching reflected light, because it's actually in the shadows. The gills are in the shadows. There we go. That's kind of fun. That's kind of fun. Let's jump up over here. I'm going to have to finish this up pretty quick. We're coming up on, actually, it's only an hour and a half, so.
Yeah, it's 2:35. You got something planned after this?
I do not have anything planned after. Yeah, actually, no, we're going to go see Logan tonight.
Oh, that's right.
We're going to see Logan tonight. Can't wait.
What time are we going to go see that?
I don't know. All right, so now I want to be able to delineate. I want to get a little bit of variation in some tech. I want to show some texture in the fins. Notice how I'm staying kind of loose. Do the same thing with the fins in the background. Just adding some texture. There we go.
We get to see Aaron rendering out the scales of the sea creature or translucent areas in the fins.
Well, the fins I'm going to keep opaque. I'm not going to make them translucent. These I'm going to keep opaque. The scales, yeah, I'll probably do something with the scales. Just adding some random texture. So I'm trying to keep this somewhat loose. I'm not going to go photorealistic with it.
What was your favorite animated film of last year?
Of last year.
Did Mulan come out last year, or was that
No.
like January, February?
They come out in Christmas time, I thought, around ish. I can't remember. Last year.
Trolls came out last year as well.
Well, I loved Zootopia, but that's this
Zootopia.
year. There, that's this year though, right?
No, I thought that was last year.
Oh, okay. Well, then Zootopia. There we go. Just hitting some textury areas. I'll show you a little trick we can try. I'm just gonna try it, just to see what's so funny.
No, Nick sent a text. It said Zootopia.
Zootopia. Yeah, we love Zootopia.
Could you do a live stream one day where you animate on paper?
Yeah.
Take us through some.
Oh, I'm definitely going to do a live stream animating on paper. It's just that we just got to get our system set up. I want to get some reflection in the eye of the sky.
Oh, Nick just wrote saying, ask him to talk about working with Byron Howard.
Byron. Yeah, Byron Howard was the director of Zootopia. Byron and I used to work together at Disney, and we worked on characters together. Byron's an amazing story. First of all, he's a great guy. He's you won't meet a nicer guy, and but Byron got his start. Byron is the director of Zootopia, co-director along with oh come on, man, drawing a blank. But Byron, let me get that there. He used to be the tour guide. He was a tour guide in the Orlando animation studio, and he worked his way in, and he was going to figure drawing classes, and just really worked his butt off, and got in. And then soon after, we all saw the talent that he had. He was a great animator, so he became an animator. And then he and I worked together on Yao and the Ancestors and Mulan. We worked directly together, and then he stayed on. That studio was shut down. The Orlando studio got shut down in 2004 or 2003. Yeah, 2004. And there we go. Get some nice highlight there. And so a lot of people were laid off. A few of us got to stay with the company, and so myself and Byron and my co-director Bob Walker and Chuck Williams, our producer, we all relocated out to California, and Byron just took off. Byron was just amazing, and he co-directed Bolt and Tangled. And then went on to co-direct Zootopia. There we go. Get some light on that. There we go.
What is your favorite comic book character?
My favorite comic book character. You know, people are gonna hate me for this. I don't know. I've never read comic books. I never did. Never got into it.
Shame on you.
I know. I was an animal geek. You know, I was reading books by like field guide books by Roger Torrey Peterson or John James Audubon. You know, I was that nerdy kid in school, and so I was never into comic books that much. I love the Marvel stuff that's coming out in the movies right now. I think that's all really cool. But yeah, no, I don't really have one. I don't think. I think the Hulk. I dig the Hulk. How about that?
And I personally like Iron Man because of his Iron Man suit, because of all that tech in there.
Yeah.
I always imagine myself having a suit like that. Make it easier to travel.
There we go. So I'm just hitting. I don't like that last little bit. Hitting little details. You know, just working out all this reflected light coming up here. There we go. There. So I think that kind of works. It's all kind of fun. So I'm going to try something really quick. Let's save it. And yeah. Let's do this. File, new. Let's go 6 by 6. We're just going to go with a little gray. I'm going to create a layer on top. Let's see here. I'm just going to experiment first. Let's see. Whoops, I gotta go dark. Bluish, gray, blue, something like that. I don't know if this is gonna work. Yeah, I don't like it. Hold on. I don't like it.
How many drawings could you draw for an animation in one day?
I've drawn hundreds. Really, I really have. Hundreds in a day. Let's see if this will work. I'm trying to create a texture pattern that we can just lay over this guy. And I want it to be somewhat random.
You're a Star Wars fan, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Of course. Who isn't?
Rogue One. Awesome movie.
What's the question?
Oh, I was just asking, if you were a Star Wars fan?
Oh yeah. What's a Star War?
It's two stars battling it out. Any advice for overcoming art depression? Like when you work hard on your art but get little attention on it?
Attention?
Or like little
mean-
detail or something?
Like no one's complimenting you, or?
I think so. Just like,
Well, don't do it for the compliments. Do it for yourself, first of all. And let me just throw these scales. I'm going to throw in some extra scales here and there just so it feels a little bit more random. And you just got to, first of all, I never worry about what other people think. I don't get art depression. I don't. So I'm having a hard time understanding that question. Only because anytime I'm doing art, I'm happy. I'm happy. Even if I'm doing bad art, you know. But I've been doing art long enough that I know that I'm going to do some bad art. That's just part of the process. Don't get depressed about it. It's just going to happen. Let me layer those together.
How many hours do you spend drawing in a day?
A lot. How's that?
A lot.
A lot.
That's a lot.
Oh shoot, I don't know. That's a hard question. Here we go.
Why don't you use a photo reference for the scales?
Because I want it to feel. If I do photo over these rough drawings, someone just asked if why don't I use photo reference? Because if I there we go. Hold on, Justin. Because I want it all to blend together. If I use photo reference over this rough drawing, it's going to stand out. So, you go ahead, Dustin.
I just caught you saying, there we go, again.
Oh. So, I'm just trying to create a nice big layer of scales. Whoops. Just something kind of random. There we go. I wonder if I can do this. I'm gonna try one more. Whoops. Oops. One more thing. There we go. That might work along the lateral line. Something like that. I know this is kind of boring, but I'm just, there we go. Just want to do this. Oh, maybe not. Well, I'm going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of it. I'm going to use it. Whoops. Let's merge these.
How do you feel about live action adaptations of classic Disney films? Being one of the people who worked on the films yourselves, it would be very interesting to get your thoughts.
I think it's cool. I think, you know, anytime they're reinterpreting like that, I think it's interesting as long as it's done well. I have no problem with it at all. I think it's pretty cool, actually. So I'm going to take this and let me see. Okay, good. I'm going to take this and drag this over. You can see we've got some scales now. I'm going to free transform it. Free transform it. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. What's so funny?
So every time Aaron says, there we go, you get a nickel.
A nickel.
A nickel.
Let's make that multiply. I'll go a little darker. That's not too bad. So now what I can do, let's do this. There we go. Just want to come in here. There we go. I'm going to clean this up. Get rid of the scales where I don't need them.
What do you think of the
I'm going to fade off some of these. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dustin.
I what do you think of the new design of Beast?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm like again. I'm holding my opinion. I was hoping for something cooler. I don't want to say anything bad though, so I'm just going to wait and see. Who knows? I'm going to clean up some of this. I don't. We need the line work is a little heavy back here. But I want to see it in context. I want to see the beast in context with the rest of the movie. So, yeah. So that's all I have to say about that. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go a little brighter. And now I think that's about the right size. I can come in, oops, let's go a little brighter still. And I can hit highlights like so. Oh, I just said like so. On here, keeping it somewhat spontaneous. But you can see we're going to get some nice texture coming out of it.
Any advice for adding color to toned tan and toned gray sketchbook drawings?
You know, adding color, I haven't done a lot. For me, what I love about working on toned paper is that ability to go light, to add the light colors. So that to me is what the big draw is. So usually my stuff is black and white. But if you want to get in there with some opaque colors, then treat it just like you would painting on a canvas or a piece of paper. You want to watch your values and watch your color temperature and all that kind of stuff. So it's feeling a little, it's not too bad. It's not great. This is for me, this is feeling a little heavy. Sometimes I'll get in here and I'll try something like this, and sometimes I'll like it. Sometimes I won't. Hit this a little warmer, hit it a little brighter.
What are the ingredients to create a good story?
You'll get 1,000 different answers to that, depending on who you ask. To tell a good story, I think you need good structure. But you can't tell a good story without honesty, without good character. I think character is one of the top. Irony. Irony to me is one of the biggest elements in good storytelling. I think a good story needs irony. And, it's that aha moment. And every good story, all of my favorite stories have great irony in them. And you get that irony a lot of times in the transition that the hero, if you have a character that is making a transition, that irony is usually embedded in the transition that they go through. So, it's like, like I was working on a film called The Legend of Tembo, and he was a character. He's an elephant that didn't like to fight. This is a story that takes place during the time of Hannibal and Alexander and all that. And so this is when they were capturing elephants to become battle elephants. They were the world's first tanks. And little Tembo is this African elephant born out on the Serengeti that he didn't like to fight. As a matter of fact, he would always offer up his little branch, his little olive branch, in a show of friendship. And one time his older brother, who likes to fight a lot and kind of worked his way up in the ranks and the herd and everything, was really embarrassed of him. And Tembo was, really looked up to his brother, and so as a result he became very ashamed of who he was and wanted to be more like his brother. Didn't like the fact that he didn't like to fight, and so he tried to get around that. And the irony of that story is that in the end he ends up saving the world by bringing the warring sides together in an act of friendship. He goes back to who he really was and discovers that he wasn't so broken after all. And to me, those types of stories, that type of irony, that type of self-realization in a character is great. You know, in Brother Bear, one of the things we tried to do is put irony in there. It's ironic, you know, that the, you know, Kenai hates bears so much, but in the end he ends up staying a bear. You know, things like that. Yes, Dustin?
Why did you create a new file for the scales? Why not draw them right on the serpent on a new layer?
Because I wanted to, it's so repetitious, and so I went over and created a new one so I could just repeat that look, because sitting here drawing it over and over and over would have just taken a longer time. So that's why I did that. But it's okay. I'm not crazy about that. I'm gonna knock the opacity of those down. There we go. That feels better to me. It's a little more subtle. Okay. All right. So we're at 2 hours now. I'm going to go ahead and just start to finish this up a little bit, because I can noodle on this for days.
Days.
For days.
Days and days.
I'm just going to go in here and add highlights, water highlights. Maybe there's a little bit along in the fins. Definitely here. There we go. And now I want to start adding some detail, so I'm going to come in here. You know, eventually I would work this until the line work is completely gone. Which reminds me, I want to get in here and get rid of some of that. Until the line work is gone and it's just it's all just value and color, you know, painting. But that would take, you know, something like this would take me probably eight or 9 hours to really work it to where all that line work is gone. But you're getting a sense of, you know, the way I work. You can see you know, once we get those shadows established and our big blocky areas, then it really is just a matter of, you know, working towards the detail. And I want to hit a couple of these even brighter to get them to stand out a little more.
Do you play any musical instruments?
I play guitar. Yep, I play guitar.
With steel slide.
And a slide, yeah, I play slide guitar. There we go. Just trying to get a little bit of texture right there. That all feels good. Let's see.
What was your reaction when you actually saw the sea beast?
The sea beast?
I think talking about the creature you showed in the photo earlier.
I'm still not following. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Like I think he's talking about like when you first saw the photo of that creature. Like, what was your first reaction to it?
Of what creature?
Of the photo of the guys holding up that.
Oh, the oarfish?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was super cool. I thought it was super cool. Sorry, I'm a little slow sometimes.
You and me both.
There we go.
We all have our slow days.
So I want to go in here now, and I'm going to get in here. I want to look over there. There we go.
What do you like more, illustration or animation?
Yes. I like them both. I know it's a bad answer, but I really do like them both. So let's get some splashes. Look at that. I got a splash brush. I'll get some water up in the air randomly.
What do you look for when you see the work of young painters and animators?
I want to know if they're getting character. I look at their acting. Let's get a little bit of water there. I really look at acting. There we go, getting some fun texture in there. This is where the fun comes in, when you start going in and just adding texture like this. There we go. This one's a little thicker. There. There we go. Just going to go in with the bigger brush. Get some of that splash behind him. There we go. Just trying to stay loose, keeping it loose, keeping it loose.
What was your first art-related job?
You know, probably my first art-related job, and I don't even know if you consider it art-related, but it really helped me in my art. You know, when I was young, my stepfather, who was trained to be an interior designer, he taught me two-point perspective when I was 8 years old. I knew how to do two-point perspective. And as I got older, I taught myself how to do two-point perspective to scale, so that I could do renderings and that sort of thing. And so by the time I was 17, 18, I was able to take architectural plans and actually do to scale architectural renderings on. This is before, computer, before you could do it on computer. And so there was an engineering firm, Coastal Engineering in Naples, Florida, that was looking for a draftsman, and I was pretty good at drafting in high school, and so I thought, well, maybe I could go in and get a job with them, and maybe if I show them my renderings and what I can do there, it might give me a leg up and I can get a job doing that. And so I went in and I brought my portfolio of renderings that I had done, and it did just that. It got me the job. And so I became, I was 17 or 18 when I got the job, and I was doing, civil engineering plans, things like that. And it was all done in ink of, parking lots and roads and all kinds of stuff. But it really taught me, and I did renderings for them as well. But it really taught me, how to be neat when you're doing everything in ink. You got to be really careful, and so that helped me a lot. That was my first art-related job. There we go. I just said there we go. I just said it. Dustin.
Hmm?
Oh, it's Dustin Board?
Oh, what did you say?
I just said there we go.
There we go.
There we go. That's it right there. So I'm just hitting some final details, and here I'm going in with some varying colors, trying to add interest. Notice how I like how the turquoisey color plays off of that. It feels like a little reflected light in there. And now I want to get in here, grab that color.
Are there any current animators or artists that continue to inspire you or your work?
Yeah, there's a lot. I haven't really kept up with 3D animators. I don't know. I'm not sure of the names of people, and I don't know why that is. It seems like, I don't know. I just don't know why. There we go. I gotta go bluer with that there. There we go. And brighter. Glenn Keane will always inspire me. And anything that, as far as individuals go, I don't like this. As far as individuals go, with the exception of Glenn and a couple of others, I haven't really kept up with everybody. Sorry, I'm trying to focus on getting this right color, and I'm not talking very well. When I struggle, I have a hard time talking, sorry. And I'm struggling.
There we go.
Yes?
How important do you think college is to an artist?
I think it depends on the artist. If you ask me, is it possible to get a job in animation or become a good artist without going to college? Yes, I think it's possible. It really depends on the person, because I think some people need to be around other like-minded people, and that's what college gives you, and you'll grow more. I know I did. That feels better. But other people, obviously there's a lot of information on the internet that will allow you to learn about art and grow as an artist. But I also think that going to college and being around other people, it's a lot like, when I was just talking about missing my old studio days when I was around all those people. We grew as artists because of the company we kept. We grew as artists because we were seeing what everybody else in the studio was doing and getting inspired, and it was great.
Is there an art style or an art subject that you hate or dislike?
I don't go down the negative route. There's not a style that I don't like at all, actually. I could appreciate why there's styles that I might go, it's not for me. But, I can understand why people will like a certain style here or there or whatever. But for me, it's not worth it to go, man, I hate that or whatever. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't add anything to the universe. So I try to stay positive all the time. I think it's something that my wife Karen would have wanted, and so I always try to be the guy that she would want me to be, and that's do good and be a good man. And I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but these are kind of the things that I think about. There we go. I'm going to hit some. I want to hit some spray again. Actually, I've got another brush that's good for this. Might be this one. Is it this one? Whoa! Don't need that. I'm going to go a little smaller with it. There, I like that brush. It's a cool brush. Now I'm going to go back to my other brush up here. That's got the spray. There we go.
I got a cookie.
You go ahead. All right, I think my son's getting a little bored.
That board is tired.
All right, here we go. I'm going to finish this up. We're going into we're 10 minutes into our third hour.
Yeah, it's 3:10, 3:15.
Yeah, so I'm going to finish this up. But you guys can see, starting from scratch, this is what we've been able to do. So this is kind of fun. I like doing this. The only thing I haven't done, I'm just going to indicate them really fast, kind of silvery. Let's make them really light and silvery. Just hitting these fish. And I'm going to go in later, and I'll probably throw some detail on them.
What would you say to young Aaron as professional animator if you had a chance?
Be patient. I think when I was younger, I like a lot of young people, I was pretty impatient. I'm going to get rid of the fish for right now because I don't have time to go in and. But be patient. You know, one of the things I preach to to anybody that'll listen is just I talk about just that. You know, be patient, work hard. You know, it all doesn't have to happen right now. And that's probably one of the biggest. I get so many questions from people, from young people, that are asking me, you know, what's it take to become a director, and what's it take to become a supervising animator, and those are all viable questions, but the root of what they're asking is how can I do that now, a lot of times when they're asking it. And it's really all about just taking your time and enjoy, really try to learn how to enjoy where you're at. You know, that's a key, I think. Try to clean up some of these areas a little bit. There. I know it feels kind of weird without the fish in there, but I just wanted to get in there. I'm going to do one last thing. I'm going to finish up some of these highlights just because I think it needs it. I'm going to go a little brighter with that. I'm just going to lightly hit some of this stuff. Any more questions as we finish up here? I'm drawing on the wrong layer. There we go.
Do you think there's an age limit to art as far as getting a job in the industry?
Yeah. I don't think most studios won't hire anybody younger than 18. If that's the root of your question. So if you're, yeah, I do think so.
Oh, here's an interesting one.
Yeah.
What do you think you would be doing right now if you never worked for Disney?
If I never worked for Disney, you know, I have no idea, because Disney became such. I don't know. I can't even picture it. I have no clue. I'd probably be an illustrator. Definitely a painter in some form or another. But yeah, that's a really good question. There, that's feeling pretty good. Pretty good.
What keeps you motivated?
Art. What keeps me motivated is the question. I love art. So for me, it's not a question of staying motivated. I love what I do, and you have to love it. You have to. I'm as giddy about drawing and painting and doing this kind of kooky stuff as I was when I was 5 years old. I love to draw pictures, and I've been one of the lucky people that's been able to make a living doing it. And that keeps me motivated. The idea that I've been so blessed and so lucky in my lifetime to be able to make this my career. I don't want to do anything else. And so I make sure that I work every day so that I can keep making a career out of it, you know, and keep going at it.
What would you do to study body language or facial expressions?
Watch movies. That's a good one. Some of your favorite films. Watch people. You know, one thing we used to do is I like to do is if I'm sitting in a mall, which is very rare because I hate malls, but or any place where large groups of people gather, get out of earshot, get out of what you can hear them saying, but try to figure out what's going on just through body language. That was always kind of fun. You know, what is their body language telling you? So I'm going in here right now and just hitting the highlight areas. I want to be very loose.
Are you still planning the Yukon trip?
You know what? Yeah. I mean, we want to. The problem we're having is that it's extremely expensive, and it's probably outside the price point of what most people can do, and so we're not sure that we'll be able to get enough tickets. Right now, the price point is still around $7,000 per person, and that's just, I don't know that a lot of people will be able to do that. I don't know if we could get enough people to actually do the trip with us.
What is it? What is the Yukon trip?
It's not really Yukon. It's actually up the Northwest Passage. It's we start off in I think it's Greenland, and then we work our way up. This is on cruise ship, but it's a small like research vessel, and we go up along Baffin Island, and we're meeting people, the culture of those areas, wildlife, obviously wildlife, and drawing and painting along the way. And I'd be conducting workshops, drawing and painting workshops as we go, and we go out and find polar bears and seals and all kinds of cool stuff.
Nice. Do you have any involvement in Brother Bear 2?
No. The people that did Brother Bear 2, they at one point, probably about a year before we even finished the first Brother Bear, they came and talked to us. They wanted to talk about character because they wanted to make sure that they stayed consistent with their characters, and they pitched us a couple of ideas, but to this day I can't even remember what they pitched us. But no, I that was it. I never had any involvement in the second one. Here we go. I just want to get really loose in here.
What film would you recommend to watch?
What film would I recommend to watch? That's a broad question. I don't.
Probably like the body language thing, maybe.
Oh,
maybe just to study.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to think about that one. Just pick any good film has got good body language. Just pick one of your favorite films and watch it and break it down for those reasons. There we go. We're getting a little bit better here.
If you would be on the only island you could just take one thing with you, what would it be?
If I had to be on an island, I could only take one thing with me, what would it be? It would be a boat.
With an engine?
A boat with an engine?
So you can leave the island.
Yeah, I'm noodling. But anyway, I think I had fun doing this with you guys today. And what's so funny?
Somebody asked for me, does Dustin look as good as he sounds?
Oh my gosh. Boy, he's so sexy.
Nice.
There we go.
Somebody's asking if you can draw a black wolf sometime in the future.
A black wolf?
Yeah, black wolf.
Sure. I could do that.
Will you be attending CTN Expo 2017?
Yes, I will. I'm going to be a presenter. I'm going to be doing some workshops, and we're currently working that out right now.
Is that the one that's going on in Texas in September? Or?
In Burbank.
Oh, Burbank in November.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm just loosely laying stuff in here. And let's go in. Foam. I just want to hit some foam in here. Going very loose with it. I'm holding my stylus way out on the end. There we go. Oh, I said there we go again. Dang it. This water is a little clunky, but it's okay. There, just
Especially, are you going to use any of your water brushes on this?
no, I decided not to. I didn't want it to feel, I wanted everything to feel like it was more organic than that. And the water brushes tend to go fairly photographic, you know, the final product on them. I used the water brushes a little bit in the beginning just to lay down a texture. All these textures in the background out here are done with my water brushes. There we go. Just painting foam. Painting the foam, painting the foam.
Do you prefer Pixar animation or DreamWorks, and why?
I prefer good movies. And I know that's a crappy answer, but what I mean is I think Pixar does great movies and some that aren't so great. I think DreamWorks does great movies and some that aren't so great. Disney's the same. You know, we don't always hit 100%. We don't always hit them out of the park, and that's just the nature of filmmaking. But I really think all the studios in Hollywood have made great films in the past. There we go. As it's kind of getting there. Let me get this foam in here. Trying to go really loose. That feels pretty good. And I'm going to hit, some of it's going to get hit with some light. How are we doing? Any more questions?
Do you prefer live action with added computer graphics or a totally animated movie?
Once again, it doesn't matter as long as it's a good movie. To me, I don't think about the process. I want to get sucked into the story being told. So I don't. It really doesn't matter to me as long as it's good storytelling.
What happened to the little fish that you painted in there?
I decided to get rid of them just because it was going to take a while to render those, and so I just felt like it was going to take too long. So I decided to get rid of them, and I might paint them in later. There.
Actually, I like it without the fish because they fill up. It feels like they fill up too much space.
Well, there you go.
But
There, see where the sun is hitting some of this foam? See what it does? It gives it some interest down here. And you are welcome to have your opinion. Well, that's a good opinion.
You drink. What's your drink of choice?
Water. Oh, come on, man! I've got a full audience of all different ages. I can't tell you what I do in my off time. I don't drink that much. I have a few drinks here and there. There we go. Here, this is feeling. I'm glad we got in here with this light value on the foam. Feels good. Feels good. Staying loose as a goose.
Can you paint a landscape in Bob Ross style in Photoshop?
No.
Just gonna paint this tree here.
I would love to,
Just gonna
actually.
paint another one right next to him. We're gonna give him a little friend.
That's right. Just gonna give him a little friend over here.
Nobody wants to be alone.
No, we certainly don't. There. Just want to hit a few last splashes. Painting this water was fun. You know, it's loose as a goose, but I enjoyed it.
If you had to animate a character with a digital arm, or had to work around a digital object with your animation?
Yeah. Well, we did some Roger Rabbit cartoons where we had to animate around real things that were on a set. And, you know, that presents itself with its own challenges.
That was in the end of the credits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the near the end.
There we go. All right, I'm going to call it quits. I'm not yet. Sorry, not quite yet.
Do you consider adding reflection in the water? What technique would you use for reflections in this case?
Well, I would just paint them. I would just paint the reflections in if I'm painting reflections. But because the water's so broken up, you actually wouldn't see a reflection of this guy just because of the way the water's broken up.
Have you ever been in Switzerland?
I've been to Switzerland more times than any other place in Europe. I've been to Zurich, Switzerland 3 times. I've been to Basel. I've been to Geneva. Yes, I've been to Switzerland quite a few times. All right. I think we're going to call it, Dustin.
Okay.
So everybody, thanks for hanging out with me. I really had fun painting today with you guys, and I'm going to do more. So remember, the Photoshop brushes on my website, creatureartteacher.com, they are 50% off all the Photoshop brushes. No, you don't need a code or anything. Just get in there and go crazy. And remember, I'm over on YouTube. YouTube, of course, I'm on YouTube now. I'm over on Facebook every Tuesday, and right here on YouTube every Thursday. And we're just going to sit here and talk and draw and paint and do whatever. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to do one more thing. One more thing.
Really?
Yes, really. I got to do it. So I want to, I'm going to save this real quick. Save as, okay. File, save as, shoot. Well, I know what I did. Hold on. Save as, there we go. Flat. Okay, so now I want to do this. I'm going to go really bright with a yellow, and I'm going to go grab my airbrush-ish, like so. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go over to color dodge. I'm going to knock this down to about 6%. And I'm going to burn some of this in. Let it feel really bright. There we go.
Should there be a shadow on the water underneath the monster?
Well, not really, because the question is, should there be a shadow on the water underneath the monster? Because the water is really reflecting the sky all around it, you wouldn't really see a shadow there. Now I could, and the water's really clear, Yeah, we could hit some darker, like in here. I could go a little darker and we could see what it looks like. Let's give it a shot, shall we? Shall we? Come up here. Ba-dum. Maybe right along in here. One of the things I wanted to do was get this to feel more transparent. Whoops. Let's get a little bit different color in there. Here. There we go. There. All right, so I got this nice and hot in there, and let's see here. I want to go a little brighter, just see what it looks like. I want that head to pop a little bit better. There we go. There we go. I just said it again. Oh, geez. I said there we go to saying there we go. There. That feels a little better. I wanted it to stand out. I want a little more contrast so the eye gets drawn to that area a little better. Reflected light. Yeah, that's all right. That works pretty well. Meh. And I'm liking this. Maybe we can go even more pure with it. This reflected light here. All right, I'm gonna noodle this to death. So I'm done, you guys. Thanks.
Nick asked you to zoom in before we wrap up to show some of the details.
All right, so here is the image. I'll blow it up. Now you can see when I really blow it up, look how loose it is. You know, I stayed fairly loose. Now I can go in here and really work the details. But, you know, as a whole, I think it works pretty well like that. And once again, we can flop it. And that still feels pretty good. And, yeah, I'm digging that. Let's try one more one more thing.
Really?
Yeah, baby, yeah. Let's get in here. I still want that head to pop a little better. But I flattened it, so I can't really go behind, which is going to be fine. I'm going to come up here and just loosely, whoops, I don't want it to be on that layer. I'm going to add a layer on top. Oh, let's do this. Multiply. See, watch what I do here. There, let's do that. I'm just going to do this really quick. And I'm going to go back in with my re-eraser. Just hit my edges. What's so funny? What's so funny?
All the viewers are making fun of you for keeping on going.
I know.
And another guy to remind you about the movie that we have planned tonight.
There we go. I think adding that little dark back there is kind of interesting. And I'll just balance it out by adding in a little bit of it back here too. Yeah, it's almost like there's a little storm back there. So image rotation. There. Now we got them sticking out the way I like. So there we go. That's it. It's done.
You sure?
I'm done. Oh, wait a minute. I got to do one more thing. You got to sign it, man.
Called it.
I got to sign it.
Here we go.
All right. Let me. Shush.
What is funny?
Oh.
All right, we're done. Wait. We'll do one more thing. Okay, now we're done. Wait. Like we're staying, we're going. Make up your mind.
There we go. We're good. So there it is, folks. What? Oh, what'd I do? There we go. So that's it. There's our image. Thanks for sticking around. That was a long one, 2.5 hours. I enjoyed it though. So I hope you guys had a good time, and we'll keep doing this. And join me over on Facebook every Tuesday, 1 p.m. here on YouTube. Every Thursday at 1 p.m. Remember the Photoshop brushes at creatureartteacher.com, my website, are all 50% off. And yeah, so I hope you learned something. I certainly had a great time talking to you guys, and I will talk to you next week. Remember, get back out there, paint, draw, put some beauty back in the world, because that's what the world needs. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye. This is the end is always awkward because I have to get to the stop streaming.
Oh yeah.